Attendance.
Birch. Dr. Valeris. Tracy. Thank you. Mr. Norton. Mr. Hall. Mr. Gilday. Ms. Feeney. Here. Mr. Point. Here. Mr. Birch.
Present.
Mr. Oliver.
Present.
All right.
If quorums, we're ready to get, we need.
Yes, we can.
All right, if we can get everybody standing, for the pledge of allegiance. I got it. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You think we have, coming from? Right.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm going to have our students come up. So we have our president of our student council and our vice president are actually twins. And they get along. Great. And then I'm going to have Rihanna, the Skills USA kids, come up. Rihanna is our president of Skills, which has been revived this year at our school. And I just want to share a couple of things that are happening here at Prince. But before we get going, there's restrooms out here in the hallway to your left. Okay, the ladies' room is directly in front, the gentleman's to the left. In case of an emergency, we can exit through here or through the hallway on the right. Okay? So just a little background, this is my first year at Prince. I can tell you that I've worked in 4 different tech schools and we have an amazing group of kids in this building. So my job is to push to get, additional support and the best experience for our students. So far, we've had a decent year. I think we can do better, but we're going to move the needle in the right direction. Some of the highlights so far this year, we've had students involved in the WYCA in Hartford, and we have about 51 young ladies that meet on Mondays with a group of advocates, and they do some good work, and we're going to have a holiday celebration for them in December. We also had a group of about 40 students to go to the CAT-CIC Empowerment Day, where some of our students were able to see some amazing speakers, and they brought a lot of information back and were inspired. So a lot of our students want to own their own businesses, so it was good for them to go to those conferences. We also had a great soccer season here. Our soccer team won the conference this year, which was a big deal for our school. We also just started a wrestling program, which is the only wrestling program in Hartford right now, which is awesome. And then we also have these young ladies and gentlemen who are doing a lot of work, and they're doing a lot of fundraising and community outreach. I think we're going to visit Aerospace, but just to let you know, Aerospace just got awarded 2 machines that equivalent to about $100,000. One of our juniors is going for his experts certification in SolidWorks. SolidWorks is a software that's used by over 7 million people in the world, and there's only 7,000 certified experts, and our junior is going to be certified this summer. So that's a huge deal for our program. Automotive is actually implemented and are successful in the Connecticut admissions testing. So our seniors will be able to do Connecticut admissions once they get out of here. So there's a lot of great things going on, and we'll walk the building after I believe we have time. But Zach and Ziara, I was mispronounced, I'm sorry. We'll talk to you about the student council and their activities.
Morning. My name is Zach Shaw. I'm Vice President for Student Council. I'm just going to be speaking about the revamping of the system that we had, and then the introduction of a new system that we placed in this year. So before I became Vice President of Council this year, I've been a part of Student Council just as a regular member since my sophomore year, I believe, or it's either my sophomore year or like the end of my freshman year. And now that I'm in a place of power, before the school year, I was sitting down with my sister, we were trying to figure out what we're going to do for this year. And I was saying for me that like I recognized all the years previous that there wasn't really much being done by the other members that were in the room. They were really just in there just to be in there, but they weren't contributing as a member to the actual council and as a member to the council as it relates to the school. So this year we revamped it. So we essentially abolished like the old way of it where you could just go in there. Yeah, you could just go in there and then you would have shop reps that would be sort of nominated by their teachers to be in there. But like I was saying again, people would just be in there just to be in there. They weren't really contributing to anything. So we got rid of that. So right now, we just have the central officers, which is just the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and public relations. But we set up a new system. So now we're taking applications for students and we're actually going over their qualifications. And not in like a crazy way, but just like their qualifications as it relates to, are they a good student in the classroom? Are they a good student behavioral wise? Are they just contributing good to the student environments within the school? So we've been working on that and we're actually about to start doing that as we turn into the year for the second half of the school year. And for the system we came up with, it's called the class cup system. We had a version, me and my sister had a version of it back in our middle school, and we wanted to introduce that here within the high school. So the class cup system works on 4 categories of point markers, which is attendance, behavior, uniform, and grade point average. And that's spread across all 4 of the grades. So for each week. So we take the points and the metrics for each week for each of the 4 grades based off of those 4 categories, and they earn points based on how well they did in that area. We don't dock points for how bad they did, but if they weren't excelling in that area, they didn't get the points to match them, right? So, and the points are split through first place through 4th place, and then each point has just like a difference in amount.
You get more points if you had a higher.
Yeah. So first place for one of them is like 25 points. Second place is 20. Third place is 15, and then last place is 10, right? And then there's some categories have higher points and then they go down like that. Some of them have lower and they go down like that, but it's just to keep it within an area that works well. And so far that's been, I can say in my eyes about it, it's been very good. It's kept the students a lot more, not in line, but it's kept them a lot more aware of what they're doing. And it keeps them more in check of themselves and it helps keep their friends in check as well. And then I also did it in a way, or we also came up with it in a way so that it could function as like a sort of like audit for the school with whatever they needed. Because before it was like on like a monthly basis, but me knowing, especially how I get when it comes to like month things get very loose, right? I was feeling so just being on top of it with like the week by week, it is a lot. But then it also has built up like the communication that we have within the school between students and faculty, and then faculty and staff, like admin staff. And then it's really just helped. I would say just me in general too, just building up my ability just to communicate with people that are older than me, have had a lot more experience than me, and like even like in situations like this, because I've been in meetings, up on top of meetings, and like I really do relate with the working world now.
Welcome.
And I really do see why adults have this level of not stress, but just but this level of just like
You said I'm stressed.
but just like this level of like expectancy, because there's a lot of things to be done, and a lot of planning that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm aware of all that now, so this is also and it's only December now too.
Just highlight some objectives.
So that I think they have not been going. We wanted to. There are some things that we want to do, and of course, with training things, not everything's going to be done the way that we want it to, but we have to push past those things and then push it. And then we have things planned for later this month. Going to be going to different shelters and helping out to serve food and give out things to them. And for next year, well, we have a whole working document of things we want to do. So next year, we're going to be inviting some guest speakers. We're going to have a speaker series. We're going to have different mayors of different towns. And hopefully some alumni and students to speak to them.
So they have a connection with the Mayor of Hartford more than I do.
Our chair can help you with that a little bit
Yeah.
as well. Work with the mayor.
Skills.
For everybody, my name is Sharon Scalera. I'm the president of the 2025-2026 chapter for Business Day. But before I start, I can introduce everybody. So this is Giselle, my vice president, my secretary, my parliamentarian, Kai Sanja, my reporter, and Kylie, the treasurer. So this month, oh guys, I'm reading off my motion because I wrote it down. So this month, we have participated in, well, not this month, but this is what we've done so far. We've participated in the blood drive at school. We've done the Hartford Marathon volunteer, the Mayor volunteer, the festival tree donation, and the Christmas paper wrapping fundraiser. And then for our upcoming events for December, we are planning to have the people who make the Super Bowl rings come and design our class ring, and that's available for anybody who goes. In January, we're gonna have our Nutmeg Spice Company visit and then we're gonna have our 100 Days of Senior Celebration. So we're gonna have companies coming from all around donating food to celebrate 100 days left of school year. We're gonna have our Skills USA Yankee Candle fundraiser. We're gonna assist a senior with a CPR course in Newington. And then for February, we're gonna have our second blood drive, a Valentine's Day dance, and a premium pleasure. If any of you guys want to sponsor or volunteer in that, it's a little run.
And jump in the water.
In March, we're gonna have our volleyball knockout and our Skills USA test to see if anybody would like to compete in it. And then in April, we will have our Powder Puff game and our Dave and Buster's trip. That would be like, I think twice a month, if I'm not mistaken. But we're just an organization that's based off of trade and a level of competition. Mostly, so for anybody who's interested in participating in it, if I feel like I'm qualified and I'd like to represent my trade, I can go ahead to the national level or in state level to compete in it.
Thank you. A couple other things I just want to mention. So we partner up with the Boys and Girls Club right here. So we're having some future communication about supporting each other's organizations, things like that. And actually, we have a senior, Tiana Robinson. She's actually nominated for Youth of the Nation, the Boys and Girls Club. And I believe this is one of the Boys and Girls Clubs that LeBron James actually visits and sponsors. We're trying to get into that network to provide more opportunity for our students. Right. So these are some of our students. But like I said, we have a lot of amazing kids in this building. We're just trying to guide them, moving the needle to the positive things in life. So thank you for coming and having your meeting here. I'm gonna go do my job, the principal. They're gonna go back to class, but I'm sure somebody will contact me when you guys are ready for your tour. All right. Any questions or anything?
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right.
So, I mean, hearing what you guys are talking about, you're not talking about just improving yourselves, but keeping your friends perspective about that opportunity. Talking about your legacy. It's a big thank you for to take pride in what you're doing, to take pride in Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
So now we'll move on to public participation. Rocky, did we have?
Yes, Mr. Paul Angelucci, Vice President of the SBFT, has signed up for public comment. Paul, at this time, would you please come forward to share your comment?
Absolutely.
Morning, everyone. I know I have 3 minutes legally. My name's Paul Angelucci. I'm the Vice President of the SBFT. This represents the 1,300 teachers in our district. I'm retiring this month. For 20 years of January. Did Blue Havens in 1978. Did 25 years in the trade. St. Louis, Department head in our district. I've been in the district as a union officer for 9 years. I have, like, all good unionists, want to share a thought and then I have an ask. So the thought I want to share is I wanted to convey to this board who had for the last 9 years as a union officer, you get, you sit on a spot where you really get to see the inner workings of the entire district. You know, I was a student, a customer, I hired kids out of this district for my own business. I proctored Nocti back in the day, and I substituted thought. But I want to share with the board that Dr. Pritchard inherited a much bigger mess than right on paper, on the news, and her work in the last year has been phenomenal. I wasn't going to publicly speak until I saw your year in review letter. So that was so spot on. And to me, having worked with the last 7 superintendents and the last executive director, which didn't go well, but I can't tell the board, Mr. Krakow joined me. These two are a great team. This last year, they did a lot. In your letter, your review, the roadmap, the great success. I think a lot of this district has not seen you get to do what you do. So that's it. The ask is this board support your two endeavors.
Well done.
So it gets nervous and head of that.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paul, for your perspective and your service. All right, now we need any more public comment? No. Okay. We will move on to the approval of the minute. Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Do we have a second? Great, second each. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Like the motion carried. All right, so now we will move over to our executive director's report. Dr. Pritchard.
Great, and I do want to, Paul's still here, I want to thank Paul for his kind comments, and I was gonna recap, because I wasn't sure that everybody had a chance to look at the year in review, but it has been a year in typical state fashion. I started on the Friday after Thanksgiving, so that I could hit that first payroll, and I've been running ever since. And so I did want to just share a few things, and then I'm going to actually turn it over to Mike, because he has also been finished up his school business, and it took me for 3.5 months last year to do it. He's done it in record time as well, but so I wanted to share some perspectives. But I did want to tell you a few things. As Paul said, I mean, this was not glamorous. It's not a glamorous report that I sent out. It is all of the nuts and bolts and foundations of the work that needs to happen. And he's also right in that what the public and maybe even the sports saw as some of the challenges were all real. And then as soon as you kind of pull that layer back, there's more. Deeply rooted. Some of these things are deeply rooted, but we're working on it, and I'm really proud of the work we've done so far. I also want to be super clear that I have not been working by myself, as you all know. We've got a great team of folks who have been at CTECS for some time, and also a team that I've brought in. I think that they're working really hard, and we're in close partnership with the administrative leaders at the school and to the unions. I would say we meet bi-weekly with SBFT and with APSA, but we also are meeting now regularly with 1199, who represents our school nurses, with CEUI, who represents our building maintenance folks and others. And so we've really tried to kind of make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. We're trying to keep them better informed of what we're doing. So there's just less gaps in our understanding and communication going forward. So I'll just highlight a few things from that report, the report that I sent out. We are trying to start a new budgeting process. We've really not had one in some time. And so we're trying to go to a zero-based budgeting approach for next fiscal year. And so we're laying the foundation for that. We're organizing our fiscal staff. We have, interestingly, at CTECS, we have some things we've centralized and some things are decentralized. And when you're as sparsely resourced as we are, sometimes having those things decentralized means none of us are getting the work done effectively. And so we're doing some reorganization as well that will help us, we think, better meet our needs. We're in very close communication with the Office of Policy and Management, and have been brutally honest with them about where we have pain points and where we need support. It will be nice one day when we are not trying to figure out whether we're paying for our school lunches, our utility bills, our special ed bills, or our school resource officers. We really are still struggling and a bit under-resourced to do those things. So we're talking to OPM about those things all the time, but also trying to keep focus on the future. And so those are some of the things I outlined in our fiscal progress and resources. We've been doing a lot of work on our administrative policies. As a state agency, we need to be in line with the state policies. We haven't always been, I think we're acting a little rogue. And so we've gotten some of those things in line as well, and have been working hard to improve our labor relations work, our human relations work, and our community work. So all of that is ongoing. On capital projects, we very happily opened Bullard Haven's new building about 2 weeks ago as well, with the governor and others. That was a long project, but really excited to cut the ribbon and get the students in there. And we've also been doing our facilities team, which is for 20 buildings. We have 2 people who kind of manage all of these things. And they do really good work. And so in addition to working on things like buildings, they are also trying to make improvements. And none of that comes as fast as anybody would like it, but they're doing good work to make sure our bond funds get out there and are doing the work that we needed to. And we've also been trying to proactively be part of the state's work on solar and other energy things. We did cut a ribbon on a project at CTECS, but there'll be multiple others as well going forward. On the industry and community partnership side, I'm excited to report that we've kind of rebooted some relationships. Ronki and members of our trade consulting team have been getting us reestablished with Pratt & Whitney. There were early attempts to work with them, and they went quiet, and we've picked those back up again. Same thing with Hartford Healthcare. Again, just trying to make sure that industry knows that we're here. We're trying to help whenever there's kind of larger scale, across multiple building types of activities, and make sure that we're getting those opportunities out. We've been also working with state agencies, with the Department of Labor, with American Job Centers, to make sure our students know what the job opportunities are in the state. And those are really exciting opportunities as well. And just other state agencies, I'm excited to say that we're starting to look at ways in which we can help other state agencies meet their workforce needs. So one example is that the Department of Developmental Services supports individuals who have intellectual disabilities. And we're starting to talk with some of our schools about how they can introduce that subject matter and also work-based learning opportunities for seniors at a couple of our schools to see if we can get some of that started. So just really lots and lots of opportunities there as well. We're showcasing our schools as much as we can. So really excited that you all have come back to having half of our meetings on sites and half of our meetings online. That's been wonderful for the schools to get to show off, but also just to deepen your knowledge in case you're asked at cocktail parties and other things about CTECS. The governor has taken a couple of trips with us of late, which has been great as well. We got him to go to Wright Tech at Stanford, and he was at Bullard Havens most recently and at Grosso Tech for an event not too long ago as well. So also, just again, trying to make sure that people know how we are different than other school districts and then some of our unique needs as well. Doing some program expansion. We've again added some additional offerings to our adult ed programming. We don't know what's going to happen with it yet, but the governor has shown some interest in expanding some of our adult ed offerings. And so we're hoping that means we might be getting some much needed support to add to that, which would be wonderful. Again, still excited, and I saw Larry joined us today. Really excited about the free apprenticeship in hairdressing that we did at Abbott Tech. and hope that there are more of those kinds of opportunities going forward. And then just again, what's ahead for us? We had an opportunity a week ago, Mike and I did, to invite some higher education institutions in our schools to see about student teaching and other opportunities to, again, increase the diversity of our teaching population. That's showing some early interest, which is exciting. We're starting to get ready for the legislative session, which thankfully doesn't start until February, but we owe the legislature a couple of reports that are past due for CTECS. And trying to use them as an opportunity to tell the future story, not just the backstory. And really do want to, I'm asked on a regular basis how we can get more students in, and I keep saying we're kind of busting in seams in the daytime program for our 9th through 12th graders, but we should be looking at after school programming, looking at evening programming, et cetera. So those reports are going to hint at those opportunities and see if we can get legislators and the industry to fight on those as well. And then I mentioned it earlier, but just think it's so important that we meet with our constituency groups. And, Paul mentioned the 1,300 teachers, but we have lots of other folks who are working in our buildings. We want to make sure we have good relationships with those labor unions to make sure that we're all, again, working together. So lots ahead and really good. It's been a really good year. I'm really happy to be here and look forward to more. I don't know if people do have questions or comments, and then I can.
So
Yeah, please.
the reports that that are going to be done to next session, are as the advisory board will be having, obviously not input wise, but will we have some level of awareness around them? Because obviously there's opportunities for us to get behind and support efforts,
Yes, absolutely. We won't make you go testify for Sean.
I've done my one.
He's one and done.
But if it's for you, I'll take a second bullet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because if you don't know, Sean and I had our hearing, the legislative hearing on the same day, and he needed to go first for timing issues. And so they just took it all out on him, and I had a really smooth sail after that. But so I will always be indebted to Sean. I think it's
I was told it was 5 minutes. It's the longest.
It's no longer, right?
longest 5
It
minutes
was
in history.
long.
Yeah, longest 5 minutes in history. So absolutely, that's a very good point. The 3 reports that are due have some redundancy. They're all statutorily required, and they all kind of have the bulleted list of things that we need to cover. Some of them are more content rich than others. Some of them are really just how many people were here and how many students were here and what did they do. But we can absolutely share those as we're sharing them with the legislature. They do have to go before they go to the legislature. They have to go to the Office of Policy Management as well. So we can absolutely share those, and then we'll have a sense as to whether we're kind of using them as a advocacy tool or whether they're just a compliance document and we'll do our own. But yeah, would appreciate any support. One of the things we talked about in our recent legislative meeting with our legislative liaison, our director, and our Carrie Markey, our communications director, is that it would be nice to have some opportunities during the legislative session to just showcase them. Again, not necessarily the ask, but to showcase our work, and the report could help us with that. But if it doesn't, I think we'll think of other ways that you can help advocate.
I actually harken back to that experience that we had, and you saw some people that had formed opinions, based off of 1 or 2 experiences, when there's a tendency that, fortunately, they only hear the bad news, right? They don't hear hey, I've been doing a great job changing lives, finding opportunities to people, and I just I'm sure we all get behind giving example. I mean, there's a lot of people that have graduated from schools here, are public participant. So yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And I think that the relationship with employers like Electric Boat, and others, having them speak on our behalf is very powerful.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
No, thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment. being, coming from the building level administration, the support that I'm hearing from central office and from people out there and schools is huge. Because a lot of times the schools are trying to do the outreach and what have you. The support and the initial contact is so beneficial, and then the schools run it, take it over like electrical and across it. But visibility as well, like what you're saying, the different things showcasing, getting into the community, the work-based learning, and having your involvement is huge. Or, to get our students out there, get the message out there, what they are able to do and what, supply the workforce. All good.
Alice, I just want to have a comment question. And it's still what you guys talking about messaging that's so important, especially during a legislative session, that we're all on point, we're all rowing in the same direction, and that our messaging is consistent and very clear, and it's critical to us at the Department of Education. Remind everybody every year before it starts, and it goes in the legislature, directly to our legislative liaison person fund, so that there isn't miscommunication, there isn't a problem that'll come up. And sometimes, most of the time, but so could you talk a little bit about the legislative approach of CTEC in terms of making sure that everyone's on message and sort of go out haphazardly sometimes.
No, that's a really good point, Ethan. We do, it is interesting being a state agency because you really do need to, kind of work with the administration and follow the guidance of the administration. Legislative body is external to that. And so it's an interesting dance. And so it is important that if legislators ask things of you, that you get them back to me, and I will have them at Raleigh work on them, same as our legislative director. Because we do get asked all the time, and we're happy to respond to constituent issues that legislators have and questions that legislators have. But to your point, I think we kind of have an approach that we can send out to you all. We can cover it in January, since we'll have time prior to the start of the session. Just talks about kind of where we stand, what the administration is telling us about kind of CTECS forward-facing work this year. I think we can, as long as kind of the administration is up with this, we really asked them for some continued foundational development on our budget. Things like clerical and public safety officers. We're not asking for new programming and all sorts of fancy stuff. We're asking to stabilize the agency with some of the we've asked the departments with that. Those things land in the governor's budget. It will be helpful to keep kind of telling the story that we are stabilizing, that we're building our foundation, and it's important. And in order for us to do that external work, we do still need to get our house in order. And so I think, that might be a message that if asked or have the opportunity, that we'd have to kind of echo for us. But, again, as the mainstream spokesperson for the agency, we will definitely have a script that we'll be following, but I think that hopefully will be that we're going to be in a better position a year from now, having had some additional infusion of resources that allow us to get stabilized and grow. So that's what I'm saying, but I'll make sure that Jason reviews it. Ready to talk about.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, previous life as a lobbyist, and I get all this, how the sausage is made from my yard. That being said, it's a committee year, thankfully. I want to thank the leadership of you both personally, not just in this position, but personally. You have stabilized this district. You're absolutely right. I think to your point, it is the stabilization of this entire district is the paramount focus right now. Even when you came into a job, picked up some pieces, put a kind of semi-rudder leadership on track. Now you're stabilizing it. You're absolutely right about the budgetary measures of this entire district. I think that is a focus for stabilization, for growth going forward. It's a lot easier during a committee year for that. Again, we are all executive branch employees, and that's the legislative branch. It's a third one, they got to know what to do with them, and all that often. But that being said, at the committee year, it's a little bit easier, in my opinion, for instead of every single bill coming out and then raising questions. Sean's point about, I saw that entire garage, and I've been on that hot seat where it's not fun. I think that this year, I think would be the focus of stabilization, encouragement of stable budgeting purposes. So that we can go forward for potential growth. I really do. And that, and I but also went to what you had stated about adult education. This is a tough place to get into. It really is. And I think the lottery system has been extremely fair, equitable, has been long overdue, but I think it's working quite well. We feel, my day job, we feel tremendous amounts of phone calls. I couldn't get in there. What do I do now? And we're talking 16, 17-year-old individuals. We're also talking to people that are in their 30s. It has been a long secret of the adult education offerings at the schools. They're not as fast as they should be. And I'm saying that because of the amount of traffic that we get for conversation. There are people that want to attain the same exact skills as today's students here. No question about it. So we're also holding the Department of Labor's Office of Apprenticeship to see that because it augments the availability to our employers that we serve. Question about that. Maybe it's stated about hairdressing. I mean, that's just a wonderful example of more equity, being able to go and be a more affordable opportunity to individuals. So, and just my thought process as we're having this conversation as an advisory board is stabilization, proper budgeting to keep it stable. Thank you for allowing me.
So I'll turn it over to Mike, and again, I just want to echo what Paul said. Mike's been a great partner since he came on in May. And we have lots of work to do together in the year ahead, but he's gathered some really good intel over the last several months that he's going to share with you, and I think we can make some plans moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Pritchard. So when I came on, I said I was going to, in any position I go into, I always say I'm going to talk to everybody before I do it. So that's the principal at Southington. I talked to all the teachers when I was in New Haven. I talked to all the, and everybody, when I jump into that endeavor, says it's impossible, you're not going to be able to do it. Then I share with them that I did it. It's just a matter of where you prioritize your time. So I made it a point to get into all 17 schools. And when I was in those schools, I made it a point to talk to students, teachers, custodians, staff, and anybody that wanted to talk to me. I was there for them in focus groups, in walking the halls, and just meeting individuals and doing that. And I was taking notes. I don't know that anybody saw that I was taking notes, but I was taking notes, chicken scratch on my pad when I was walking around. And then I would go back to my office and I would put all of that stuff in a legible form. And then send it off to the principal and say, hey, listen, this is what I heard. It's not what I think or anything like that. It's just what I heard when I was there. Do with it what you will. And then when I finished the 17 schools, I took all of that, put it into one 30-page document. Then I used AI and said, hey, tell me what the consistent themes are across everything that I've written. And then I read it and made sure I agreed with it, because you have to do that with AI. It's not always the best. And then I gave it some prompts and said, I don't think you got this right. And then I came to like a 1.5 page document that kind of gives themes of what I saw at each one of the schools. And it's pretty spot on. I think one of the things that I recognized when I went out to all the schools is that we're the best kept secret in Connecticut. Our schools are phenomenal. Our facilities are phenomenal. Even our worst facility is better than some of the best facilities in surrounding towns. They're great. The spaces that we provide for students, for teachers, for administrators to actually provide more and more opportunities for kids, second to none. And I think one of the things that I was in New Haven for 22 years, I was in Southern Florida, I knew nothing about technical schools. Like I would hear kids are coming in, or they're going to Eli Whitney, or they're going to Wilcott, or anything like that, and really didn't have a sense of what that actually meant. And now that I know that, I think we have to do a better job messaging out great things that happen at CTECS. We get gotten a lot of negative press in the past. I think we need to start to change that, because we are a great school district. We do great things with students. And in every single school that I went in, I had a focus group of students. And the students that you saw up here today are just a small percentage of what's out there at CTECS. And we all
need to just recognize that we need to do a better job getting that story out to people, because the more we can get that story out, the more we'll lift up our staff members, the more we'll lift up our students, and the better, the better kids that we'll have. With that said, I'm going to tell you some of the feedback that I got, and just recognizing that in order to improve anything, you have to put out there. So one of the things that I heard from everywhere, and I actually had a student voice in every one of these things, because they were the one group that was not shot were the students. They told me exactly what they thought. All right, so one of the constant themes that I got was stability, consistency, and clarity in leadership. So in a number of our schools, they're on their third or fourth principal in a number of years. I'm the 8th superintendent in 11 years. Dr. Pritchard is the 2nd executive director in 2 years. Like, so, like the idea of consistency is important, and it's important to all stakeholders. It's important to teachers, and it's equally as important to the adults and the students. One of the students at the school that I was at, that was on their 4th principal in 4 different years, said, if you're constantly changing the leadership, or you're constantly changing the principal, I don't know who he is, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what the rules are, and I don't know that person, and it just, it makes me care less about what they're saying if I only know their version, right? And the teachers will say that about me as well. So if I don't know you, then there's a challenge there. So they're striving, and they're begging for consistency. So I think we need to look at how we provide them with that. There's communication issues between central office and school districts. I mean, in the district in general, that at the school area, at the school level. So shoring up. And when I say communication, it's just like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Everybody, no matter where I go, whatever room I was in, there's a clear passion for the work that we're doing. No one is just haphazardly putting things out there and doing, like, everybody really cares, and everybody's working hard to do a good job, but we need to make that connection better so that people understand the why, not just the what. Dr. Pritchard alluded to it, staffing. You know, our PGBOs are part-time right now. We need full-time staff, like security staff. Our clerical staff is all over the place. Like, there's a couple of schools that only have one secretary for 600 students. So that staffing is felt amongst everybody. It's felt amongst students, teachers, administrators. We have excellent facilities. We have some that are on their last leg. We have 2 great individuals that are running that program. They're doing the best they can, but we need to pay attention to some of our schools that are that are on the last legs of their time here. And really just spelling out a timeline and what we're going to pay attention to, and what we're going to do towards better goals. This was really great. So the students that I talked to, the main bit of feedback that I would get for them is that they were looking for academics that directly relate to their trade. So more of an intersection between academics and trade, and not seeing it as 2 silos. A way to explain that is, I was at Bullard Havens and I was talking to a student that was in an automotive shop. And that student said, we don't offer physics here. We offer physics. A lot of what I'm doing in my automotive shop is based on theory that I would have learned in physics, but we don't offer physics. So is there a way that we can get physics so that, and that got me thinking about, chemistry and hairdressing, all of these different connections that we can make between academics and the trades. So doing a better job at that. There's a growing population of students that are going to be college going, and at CTECS, every student group that I went and talked to, I said, what's your plan after? And almost all the time, I had half of the hands went up about going to college or looking at college. And then the other half said, I don't want anything to do with college. I don't right to work, right? So we have that dichotomy at our tech schools more so than at a regular LEO. But they're looking for a little bit of focus on, how do I get more credits? How do I get more college credits in high school? Are there ECE classes or there AP classes? How do we grow that? And then a lot of them feel really connected to their trade. So if I say, where is the one place that you go when you need a safe space, they go right to their trade. They spend 6 hours every 2 weeks in their trade. They feel really connected to that trade. But some of them are longing for more of a like the connection between them and the overall student, right? So how do we create more opportunities, more pep rallies, more homecoming dances, more like those areas, because they really want to feel, they feel connected to their trade and they love that. They also want to have some school spirit, and feel connected to their overall school. And they love work-based learning. The ability to make money while they're in high school came up at all 17 schools, roughly at least 17 kids at each school. But the one thing and the one, like, we have a great foundation here because at every single school that I went to, the one thing that was consistent was that everybody believes in the mission of CTECS. They believe in what we do. They believe in why we do it. They'll talk about all of the challenges and all of the issues to the cows come home, but they will end up their statement every time. They'll end up by saying, but I love what we do. I love the kids. I love our mission. I love the vision that we have here at CTECS. And that, like, as long as we have that, we're ahead of the game. We can work through any challenge. We can work through problems. A lot of the problems that we had at CTECS are problems that schools across the country are dealing with. They're complex. They don't offer themselves to simple solutions. But if we have a body that just really believes in the mission, they're passionate about what we do, that's golden. Right.
Yes, two comments, actually, one, going back to how long I've been doing this. I actually was a professor at Harper State Tech, chemical engineering technology, and I was trying to get, at that time, Prince to be more involved with what we were doing. So they were like, well, what can I do, whatever, and they said, well, chemistry and hairdressing. So I actually did some special presentations to the hairdressers. So I had to laugh when you brought that up, because I went, and it was interesting because I think they were like, what is she talking about? But we were into, hey, you want to do permanent? It's a lot of chemistry. So that was interesting. The other thing that struck me was when you talked about, like something like physics, and could you do a physics course? Could you possibly still give credit for physics, by evaluating how it's actually taught hands-on, like in maybe your labs or whatever, so it's more evaluated more on a competency base as opposed to a full separate theoretical physics. Just because, again, I think all students, I don't think it's unique to, technical students, but you learn better when you see things applied, whether it's math, whether it's physics, whether it's chemistry.
And the one beauty about all of our schools is that there's hands-on embedded project-based
Right.
learning everywhere you go. It's not an option.
Right.
You don't have to talk through the philosophy to get teachers to believe that. They just see it, they see how it works everywhere. And that's actually one of the things that I want to explore is we have the next generation accountability standards that kind of paint a picture of all of our schools. The academic picture is based solely on SATs in high school. We had 50% of our students that are not going, that don't have an interest in going to college, but I would bet dollars to donuts that they're educated, like them, they're coming out with far better than they know exactly. Because if you look at a plumber, they're going to be able to calculate volume. You look at it, like, so there's things that they're learning in their trade that no one knows about, like that we don't really paint a picture on or put a spotlight on. That's big.
You're talking about physics, and a lot of the buildings, they have interviewing a position. It's extremely hard to find a physics teacher. But what we found is that a lot of prospective employees, they're not aware. So I know you have started having fairs or what have you, so I would emphasize doing more of that, connecting with the colleges, universities, getting that out there too. It's a shame we can't provide physics. Parents are disappointed, a lot of the students are disappointed, but it's very tough. The hospital.
I, Dr. Burton, agree with you on a lot of things like usual. I am a graduate of the system in plumbing, actually. You're absolutely right. And I've also been very fortunate to be part of the U.S. Department of Education's lab to clock comparison analysis committee. There is something that is just say has been the U.S. Department of Education that affords any district to actually be able to do that. I would be willing to be part of that conversation, at least. Also, you're absolutely right. That can, and I've said this many times in this board, and a long time, even as an instructor in this system, the contextualization specifically of trigonometry is paramount to electrical, plumbing, and a lot of the other ones. I agree with the physics, there's no question about it. But there's always been that rub back when I was a student in the early 80s, all the way through being an instructor, involvement for that as well. That is absolutely paramount to success for the next step of our graduates in those occupations. Secondly, with regard to the system being the best kept secret, it's societal. It always has been. People go, well, that's nice that they're going there. My kid's going to Southington High School, then I go to Cornell, and okay, that's societal. We are the biggest generator, and we could probably quantify this. We are the largest producers of entrepreneurs in the state of Connecticut. You go to school, nursing school, you can't put a shingle up and say, I'm a nurse. You can if you're an electrician. You absolutely can. And I think we can go, I will talk to the research person at the Department of Labor. We can quantify that we are a generator of entrepreneurs. Just want to bring that up. Thank you.
I love hearing about being interested in Alice knows, Dr. Kircher knows, beyond the State Board of Education, the major priority of the department, commissioner, and the governor. Dual credit is wonderful exposure to college for our high school students, but it's not just for the students that are going to immediately graduate and go to college. It's for the students that are going to go into the workforce because they can get credits that are college credit base. They give something, but also it's towards your certification, it's towards your credentials that'll get you a job out of high school. And it's terrific because you're starting to require that they all come with college credit. Because let's not shut the door. For many students, there are economic reasons why college is not a reality right away. But get them into a job, and that employer may well send them. I know elective vote equals a tuition reimbursement. And it's many, and so it's just a wonderful opportunity. I think we are trying to expand both new and career pathways. In fact, now on a committee that I put together, DSC, the Department of Labor, that and the purpose of the committee is really to work together to bring education, higher education in the workforce in, to try to figure out what skills are needed, what courses are needed, and how do we put this together for all of our districts. And this be one of our largest districts, it's a perfect match. So thrilled to hear your interest in expanding that area.
With the mission of getting rid of the word dual.
Yeah.
Multi-enrollment, because as you just stated before, how we use these words are very important. Dual college credit in high school. Multiple enrollment, so it's out of either or, it's a combination of both.
I'll just say, and then, Mr. Chair, we can keep on. We have upcoming, committee meetings, obviously, at the beginning of the next calendar year. It might make sense for us to present on some of our dual enrollments or concurrent enrollments efforts that we're doing with CT State in particular. But we're also part of a initiative run by Office of Workforce Strategy with some national, as part of a national effort to look at these things as well. And SDE is involved in that. And maybe we can get Dr. Bowers talk a little bit about that project as well. Which is also looking at credentials and credentials of value and how is that part of the career pathway. So.
Well, Mike, thank you for everything. On behalf of the board, thanks to the candor, the effort, the discussion, the dialogue. It's great. Appreciate it. So. On the same note, looks like it's being out to me for the report of the chair. A little different from what we planned, but the last meeting I talked about, we're taking on this role now, talking about what the role of this board is, as much as we are to help and hear and guide. We also have a responsibility to provide perspective to the staff on what we're seeing in our various roles, industries, and all of that. So I'm going to start
I'm missing a partner in crime today, and I'll, which should be at another time, but, if you follow what I'm doing, AI, it's kind of front and center. I'm by background, a private sector tech guy. I went this role with the mayor. It's the first time I've been in the public sector. And on top of the development stuff we're doing, part of the big TS is we got to figure out technology. And in terms of, it wasn't talking about let's get the biggest, shiniest object. It was something we keep missing cycle after cycle of digital literacy and opportunities being provided, adequate access in your centers. And there's a moral piece behind that. There's a societal piece behind that. Let's put that aside and I'll tell you a story. We're trying to open this AI center downtown, privately, not a data center. Can't think of I have to throw out there. But the push, but when we're talking workforce, we go to the corporates. They, to a CEO or a CIO, are saying, we don't need help with consulting. We don't need help with the hardware. We don't need help with any of the technology. We got that. We spent everything on them. We don't have any people to do this. And what's interesting is it's not that they don't have the computer scientists and the data people. They can find them. You do the big searches for those data people, they're winning. It's the people, just the way Mike described. I've got a job now. AI is a tool. How do I fit that into my day? How many times do I have to question it? How do I get better at prompting so I don't have to spend a half an hour trying to get it to understand what I'm trying to tell it to do, right? How do you apply AI to your job? That's what the corporates are asking of us. We have over $5 million in uncovered funding from various corporations around here in Hartford, just around workforce. We offer consulting services, connect with colleges so you can catch them projects. That's great. Do we get a chance to hire the people after they come through? Every one of the grants is being tailored toward that, and it's not coming from foundation. This is a plan. It's coming from the CIOs, it's coming from the COOs. I just need more people in Hartford region that know how to do their job in the I think fundamentally, here's when Valley comes in, she can tell the story too about that first part about connecting these opportunities to neighborhoods. What are people looking for? How do you get people in this day and age? How do you get people to trust the government institution for anything? Fair question. And she's been out going to the Crystal Center library, can't walk into her little meeting without downloading either Gemini or ChatGPT on your phone. She can be talking. So there are very intentional, very deliberate attention. You say stuff up here and the people that are being affected by it. I think we get into this more and more time, but we need to have an answer to that question. What is our position on AI? How is that impacting what we're doing, what we're offering, what we're teaching, what we're growing, what we're testing? I'm not sure what the answer is. It's kind of exciting to be here at this moment, but you hear that the trades are immediate. And I sat there with Gemini and I said, that's my toilet. That's what it's doing. It's like, how old is this? And it told me what I needed to do. It turns out replacing a toilet isn't that hard. But in doing that, didn't call it one. What does that mean? Could a plumber then be using AI to augment their ability, their skills in a way that makes it so I would never catch up? Trust me, that toilet could have been changed in 20 minutes. It took me 2 days, and I'm so damn proud of myself. But the impacts of AI are we don't know yet. But I think the offering here is simply need to come up with an answer. And I know we have Joe. Joe Campbell has been looking at this here. And Joe, do you want to say a little bit?
Sure.
Come on up.
Thank you, Jim.
Quick introduction, I'm Joe Campbell and I am the educational technology consultant for the district. Up until 3 years ago, I was really just doing the educational technology side. 3 years ago, I now also consulted on the high tech cluster, so graphics, digital media, IT and robotics and automation. So, but as you can imagine, in my world, AI is just like, it's every day. And for me, it's almost exhausting, but in a positive way, because it is evolving, changing. So I will definitely touch base on the workforce part, but I actually just wanted to give you sort of an overview of sort of where the district is in regards to AI. Because it bridges both sort of the curriculum side and instruction, and then the workforce. We do both. So 3 years ago was really when AI exploded into education. We were the first district in the state to actually develop a proactive AI policy. So we were not restricted. We could see the writing was on the wall. This is not going away. But of course, you know, we have the English teachers that are all they're going to achieve. Sure. But we're well past that, and we're embracing how we use AI, and we developed it into what we did. That was 3 years ago, and it really has been light speed since then. So we have a great policy. The staff and students, it's proactive use of it. We have AI tools for the staff. So, you know, this year, all of our Title I schools we use. But also we use Magic School, and then the other 7 we use what's called Brisk, which is it's a tool that connects in, and they could take their lesson plans, and you can say, I need specific modifications, I need different types of engagements, building an assessment, and it's a wonderful tool in the toolbox. We're able to take teachers through lesson planning, lesson development, and assessment development very quickly. And as you know, we all have a new evaluation model in the district. These models tie directly to those teachers, the objectives that they've chosen, so that it aligns directly with what they're doing. So we're doing a lot with that. As for platforms that we use across the district, ones that are approved, we use ChatGPT, Copilot, and Gemini. And as you can imagine, there are a flurry of them out of there. But I'll put my other hat on for a second. I do sort of the data governance for the district and our data privacy. And even though there may be all these tools out in the world, we can't use them all until we vet them and make sure that they follow all the requirements. So those 3 have stepped up to the plate, have done all their due diligence, and we can use them. So that we're in a good place. Specifically, I'll just jump over to, we are obviously embedding this really across every content area, but it is like lightning fast. I'm just going to go over the high tech cluster of where we are. So the high tech trades, the IT cluster finished a curriculum rewrite in June, all done. Great new curriculum. And when those teachers came back in August, I had to tell them, we usually get 2 years out of them. Came back in August, we had to go back. Because in June, July, and August, our whole environment changed. We need to shift quickly. And at times, education is actually slower to adopt change, but in this world, it's really moving fast. So anyways, so really in IT and in graphics, in robotic, in digital media, those all 4 have really embraced, where it looks like in the workforce. Actually, in August, it wasn't the Wall Street Journal, but I was interviewed by the Norwich Bulletin. They did a highlight article of how we're doing AI in robotics and automation. So we're able to highlight just to showcase the district moving forward. I'll tell you, for the November PD, where we bring all of the teachers together, we had the IT section here, and I specifically brought in 2 different vendors, Dell and then SHI, which is a reseller that we use. And I brought those companies in, and actually UBO, which is A&A printers, they talk to the graphics folks. Their specific conversation is targeted to talk to the teachers. I said, I don't want to know what products you're selling, what the offer have. That's not the conversation we want. I want you to tell the teachers what your workforce looks like today with the impact of AI. And it was a striking conversation of how drastically those high-tech companies have moved and how processes, we're not even just talking, create a form. It's machine learning in the background, where it's learning operation and processes. Even when you think of robotics, there's two parts of the robotics. There's the programming of the robotic, but then there's the thinking part of the AI that is the robot is looking at what's in front of it. It's learning all the parts, the size and the weights and the efficiency of how to do all that. That has dramatically changed the workforce, and that was a quick turnaround. Usually some of these take years and years and years. You're talking about it's a month turnaround, switch a whole industry. So we're embedding all of those into those content areas. It's moving very quickly. We have vendors in, we're already changing the curriculum. So the other part is actually earlier this week, I have two locations, Cater and Bullard Havens IT. We've already decided that this year we'll be running an AI lab. We're going to buy equipment and software, and we're going to run 2 pilots of AI labs in those 2 locations. Then word got out that we were looking at it. So at the moment, I'll just put my little caveat. Say we're going to run an AI lab. Past that sentence, definition is a little loose because every single time we meet with a different group, it's different and it changes, which is great, but it's not. Hard to keep up with the moment. So on the good part is on this past Monday, we the 2 department heads from Caner and Bullard and we were at the University of Bridgeport to see their full AI lab that they have already developed in place. So they were very excited to see that at the high school level that these conversations are happening. And they have offered to partner with us and they want to build shared curriculum to share resources. And obviously we would love to do it with anyone that wants to have conversations with us. But
They can volunteer in the park.
yeah, no, right? We're ready.
Yeah.
So it was great, and the students are engaged, and we're, again, some of the things we're looking at humanoid robots that sit and they're interactive, and you can make the web-based or an interface where you talk. We actually took an open house item, we dropped it into an AI agent, and it learned all about the open house of the day. So people came up and they said, well, where's robotics? Well, robotics is, 231, and it gave directions to the school, and it did it in 5 minutes. The great part is I was actually at Bullard Havens last night for a packing meeting. And Sandeep, who's the dean of students, was doing his work. He has a little pitch that he does for work-based learning and externships. And he built through AGen, which is another AI tool. He dropped his whole presentation and he created an AI agent that spoke his whole presentation for him. So it was very slick. So that's, again, the imagery of what we're doing is even changing the landscape. It's very exciting. We're looking to collaborate a lot. Another good thing is that with this AI lab that we're doing, word's gotten out. So, our district, as well as all the other districts, we're part of the CEN, the Connecticut Education Network. We've already been tapped on the shoulder to give a presentation at the CEN conference about what we're doing with AI and students. So we're excited. And we're also, I forgot to mention at central office, we have an intern and we're just, even on the operations, I think all the students and staff are just exciting. But just operationally, we're also looking at how we can just standardize some of the things that we do operation in our jobs and leverage AI to do this much more efficiently. And again, some of that, if you don't know the answer yet, because AI is developing quicker than you can think of it. So it's all good stuff.
I love when you say we should have an answer to a question. I go, yeah.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, we do.
There you are.
There's an opportunity here, I think, that is pretty powerful. We're asking for 50 million from the state for an AI center because we're feeling that we need to layer on those capabilities to the existing institutions because generally we're not seeing it in the region. And Rishi does a little bit. It's not a huge state priority in terms of where the money's going. You can cut through the words, then you look where the money's going, and you look at it that way. The feeling I'm getting from it is that there's a lot of the investing in institutions, a lot more than you create. And and there's some darn good reasons for it. And I love that strategy. Maybe I'll make the strategy beforehand. But anyway, it's a different issue. But I think there's an opportunity to publicize what's going on here in a very surprising place, because we talk about the attitude people have toward the tech schools, which is way outdated, if it ever was true. And if the tech schools can start to show that you're the technology that we're doing, we're taking lead, nobody is filling that space in the state right now, especially in the game. There is an opportunity to change the perception here. And anything we can do, you know, say, day job in the city, friends or whatever, we can have some resources to support that. Anything we can do, like our goal in Hartford marriage is, hey, it came out of Hartford, it started in Hartford. Hartford was a catalyst for something else. So, but just having been surfing the AI, everything, the governor, the legislature, to the ABC last year, that this is a huge opportunity.
Can I ask a question to you? Are you by any chance consulting with Mark Randy on this project?
So we get, so yes and no. He's much more on the, obviously, the operational side. We do much, but there are conversations that happen. Okay, so we're not in depth.
Because we say the governor means the state's chief information officer. So there's a correlation there. And I was part of this conversation about AI. I'm not afraid of AI at all. To your point about it, you know, trades not being affected, I absolutely disagree. I think that they are going to be substantially impacted by this.
It's urban myth.
Exactly, urban myth. And I'm a very simplistic person. I do it the Reader's Digest version of France. I look at it this way with AI. I mean, we're not too far removed from card readers and floppy disks. If you really think about it, we probably still have some in our house.
I do.
Exactly. That being said, I put it in my simple brain yesterday. When it comes to AI, I believe that it is a concept and a tool. And how do you utilize it is no different than, in my opinion, than when everybody's afraid of the internet. That being said, I think it comes down to four things. The what and the why, as opposed to the who and the how. You get to the who and the how after you figure out exactly what it can be purposed for. And why for specific application as a tool. That's just simplistically in my mind. Then the how to utilize that will be determining the who. Because I think a lot of people are going, well, how do I have my people do this? Well, why and what does it do? I think if, just as a concept, I could be completely wrong. But I think that a concentration, a concept being a tool, to figure out exactly what the purpose of AI can be for your application and why you need to do that. Because you're absolutely right. To your point, I haven't used it because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But it will be able to make what you're doing better, and then you have to, you know, it's a great writer, and you become the editor of your own stuff. Sure. Goes back to the application of it. So it's just something that I simplistically thought about. I think that people in your position, and possibly your position, without knowing exactly what you do, and I don't want to get into the world by any means, but just as an outsider going, this has potential, and it's coming no matter what, to actually be a fantastic tool for progress. There's no question about it.
I mean, the other part is that people get stuck on thinking of AI as just like a glorified Google.
Yeah.
And it's far, far more than that. I mean, here's just one minor example. We have one of our principals who we've seen every day, all of a sudden it magically creates all the schedules and sign off people. And that's simple, but it's also, it's learning processes. It's intelligent thinking that's happening. It's much more. So I get frustrated at my technology side. People talk about AI. Oh, I just Google, I compare and contrast. That's like an infant stage. And even the applications that we're thinking of and doing with our students is well beyond that. And, you know, even when I have the companies come in, talks about the skill level that the students we need right now in AI. They all, every single one of them, there were 9 of them, said, you have a student that just says that they have worked on learning machines, which is that AI basics. They're far ahead of anyone that's out there right now. just to have an understanding of how it works. So there's definitely room to grow, but we're at least excited that we're in the conversation.
And if you look at CTECS, it's like in terms of organizational chart, those that kind of report directly to your office and to those 17 principals that are out there. How supportive are either of the AI efforts, and are there any that are resistant to change?
I think there's,
How do you-
yeah, so I think I think the level of resistance is going down. I think more people are just coming to the conclusion that it's here, it's gonna be here. We just need to figure out how to interact with it. More so than the people that just don't. That don't consider development.
Anyway, part two of that question is, there's a huge support in it. What trades are we missing that aren't currently in our schools, or that we don't have enough of, that we should be looking at in the next 2 or 3 years to say, this is where we need to go in terms of trades and schools that are supporting AI, but what's the background, and are we doing it?
Yeah, so I don't have an answer to that question. That's what's looking at.
It's a magic wand. Yeah. I mean, because even when you think of advanced AI and advanced manufacturing, it's going to be a huge explosion. But again, other than me saying that one sentence, what it looks like, I don't even think that the industry really knows yet because it's involved. And, I'll even I'll take a step back of where, so I went to Gator for drafting. So we did drafting, and there was manufacturing, they were separate. And then over time, those two fields have merged together. So now the drafts person is the same one that works on the machine. So I think you're going to start to see convergence of different trades because the efficiency of what they do is changing because we're thinking about jobs differently. So I think there's just going to be an evolution. Even actually, Larry were here, he would tell you how even between IT and manufacturing, the convergence is. It's actually called Machine 5.0 right now. That's what it is. It's a convergence of those two industries together. Yeah, so I really don't mention one.
Are we at a place right now with this to have conversations with different stakeholders? Because I'm looking at it from an industry perspective, right? And you always think about, retaining talent, and if you all are starting to go implement it, some businesses. With AI, we're trying to bring in some of the CTECS students. They're doing this highly evolved work already, right? And they come to us and they're just doing the basics. They may be like, hey, this is not what I want. I want the next level stuff. So there selfishly is like a part of me, it's like, would there be some kind of conversations with industry partners about what you're doing so we can start thinking bigger also?
There are at least 3 large insurance companies with 50 years of the river that would absolutely jump on this.
I wanted to comment on AI in manufacturing. So I think some of you know, I actually am the executive director of PI of a National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. It's funded the National Science Foundation. And we are really getting significantly pushed, if I should say, that we got to be doing AI, because it's coming from the White House, okay, in terms of a priority. So because of that, and our center is national, so it brings in, as a focus on technician education, we are actually a partner with a recently funded consortium from Minnesota as well, that's out of Miami-Dade in Florida. But we've been doing and working with all of your software companies now have AI curriculum in manufacturing, Intel, Microsoft, Google, and they're all like chomping at the bit. We want to be at the table. So we're already doing some webinars. We actually did a whole presentation with Microsoft, like they did it on AI in manufacturing. So there's a lot out there. And I think it's so significant for you to be like engaged at this point, because I think it will, you'll be identified as a leader in terms of recognizing how technology is changing. And that's what we're all about. That's what CTECs are about. So anyway, I can work with you on that. I'm happy to do it because it's taken off. It's great, so.
And I bring up my comment, but primarily too, because I think in the past, we've been concerned about like enrollment numbers in like aerospace. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it may be low, but that's where we're going. And so we shouldn't be thinking about like, those type of programs. And it's how we build them so, yeah, I know that's something that can whisper past me, you know.
And if you guys do need some connections, to corporations and, I mean, obviously, a lot of the players going on the CEN has started to take a much more central role in this because we need their pipes, no matter what we're doing, all of us need their pipes, so they're in the middle of that all. But if there's any, like, just come up with somebody, give us a name, we'll find it.
I have a quick funny story with AI. So we were using it, you know, I jump on it for everything. In fact, I'm in the process of buying a washing machine and all. So I put everything in there and say, which one should I purchase? So anyway, good suggestions. So we were doing some marketing materials and we put in some of what we had for materials into AI and, you know, had the dirty, dark, dingy, like, how do we change that? And the AI came back and said, well, you have to tell people not to work in the dirt. So I went, oh, okay. So that's why the prompts and all really come to work. So,
And what, this is, so I'm working, I'm using AI a lot for this thing.
yeah, but isn't it funny? It was just so funny.
So last week, this is how me and ChatGPT have gotten, I get some numbers from the state. I get my boss, the mayor, I'm like, like, all right, so this is the input I got. What are the top 3 options? Well, Jeff, I would rank your top 3 options in this order: dead in the water, impossible, and catastrophically bad.
Oh.
I'm picking up on my sarcasm.
Exactly why I don't use it.
Like, that said, there is some hope. Like, oh, good. But it. Right, this is big. Like I said, use us. Like, seriously, wacky idea, love to talk to somebody. I don't know if you, Michelle Cavey is the Google public sector rep for this area. She's been Raymond and several others. I can make a connection there. We're, in the city, we have contracted with Google, and their rapid implementation team can do some pilots around AI-based planning and a couple other things. If there's anything we can do on the education side, if there's any way we can get some students involved to shadow some of these projects, I will happily bring them in. But Michelle has been great, and she's got a direct connection with her CEO, which is, she's been under.
Last thought, if you want to entertain yourself, after you've been using the AI for a while, you just get to tell you about yourself. Let's see what it writes back. Very interesting. That's fine.
We have to share it.
Yeah, before we close,
Just real quick, Ronki and Carrie need to do some updates to our website around the advisory board. And one of the things we wanted to do was put up headshots of the board members. And so if you don't have one, Carrie's available to take some quick shots of you today, just so we can get some and use them. We'll make sure that they're good with you beforehand. But we want to make sure that the board is represented on that page. So if you would like to comment, do it real quick. If not, we'll ask you to get to us. Right. Yeah, we don't have everybody, so but we can do what we got. Yeah, that'd be great. That sounds good.
one action item before we close up. We will be meeting a vice chair. If you are interested, please submit your interest via email to Rocky, and we'll discuss it further. So that's all we have on the agenda today. Any other final commentary? We did approve the minutes. And I believe. Need a motion to adjourn? Motion, second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Holidays.
About the tour, for those who can stay. Yes, for the tour.
Have the opportunity to stay. We are doing aerospace, architecture, and masonry.
Oh, we're going to take one.
Oh, yes.
I think masonry's on production.
Oh, they went out.
They do criminal justice, they do criminal, that's culture.
Where do you want it? You want it right next to you?
Yes, we're not going to do group shot, right? Just headshot?
You can do either one.
What's the one about with the?
Okay, so we'll do a group shot of who we got today. So I think the group shot, we could do it, someone is sitting right here in a row behind. Yeah.
Or I can go the other side if you want to do it there.
They're right there, and we have some standing, some sitting.
And then some standing behind. And then anyone that does not have a headshot that would like one, I'll do it right up against the white screen so you can color the background.
Okay, so if you want some of us to.
Yeah, so anyone,
Seated in the